Another one. Another one. Touchdown, Jags! Ball game!
Another Jags podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 62 of Another Jags podcast. We are excited tonight, as always, to be talking about all things Jaguars. The draft is now 3 weeks away, and we are chomping at the bit to get there. As always, we have Jason and Joey and myself, and we have you. You are part of the show because you ask the questions that we answer. Before we get to those questions, we want to remind everyone that we are on Twitter at Another Jags Pod. We are on Facebook and Instagram at Another Jags Podcast, as well as YouTube. Search Another Jags Podcast, and you can find us there as well. We are going to be talking about the running back situation. We had some news about the running backs coming out this week, some new signed players and how that's going to affect the draft. Also talking a little bit about our linebacker situation, offensive line, and who knows what else. Before we do that, let's. What do you think, guys? You want to go straight to Twitter?
We can go to
questions?
Twitter, for sure.
What do you think?
Yeah, man.
Joey?
I mean,
All right.
our fans are number one.
Oh,
so,
you know what? Before
absolutely.
we do that, though, we do want to say we're pretty excited. We have some news that we're going to be.
Whoa. You're like talking about this now?
Yeah, right off the bat.
All right, let's do it.
What do you think? You want to wait?
No, let's do it. I agree.
I'm excited. It's like Christmas morning.
I agree.
We have some news that's going to be coming out in the next episode or two, but we'll just say this. Some contracts have been signed, except for Joey.
Hey,
which is a little awkward that they haven't
form's been filled out. I mean, signatures coming as soon as I can.
They haven't asked Joey to sign anything yet. No tax forms for Joey, but so we're pretty excited about the direction that Another Jags podcast is headed, and we want to really just say thank you to all our listeners because if it wasn't for everyone that listens to the show, that downloads the shows, that tells their friends about it, then we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So we are very excited about that. And I believe there's also some sort of record that we've set over in Europe, Jason. Is that right?
We are the most downloaded Jags podcast, the most downloaded Jags podcast in Europe.
Okay.
Which is absolutely insane. It's like we're David Hasselhoff. I mean, he was big in Germany, right?
Yeah. I mean honestly, really, like, the fans of this show, the people who listen to us every episode, like, thank you. Like, we put up some big numbers in 1 year, and people have noticed. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So thank you guys.
Well put.
Yeah, thank you.
That's been very amazing. And I have to say, I mean, local fans are great. But those English fans, man, they don't mess around.
No,
they really don't.
They really
Those
don't, man.
UK
It's like, hey, it's miserable outside. I haven't seen the sun in like 3
Whoa, hold
weeks.
on. Don't start getting.
I've got some serious
We're
like
just giving him
podcasts
credit.
to listen to.
Yeah.
All right, this question's from King, and he's at the Noah Bennett. He says,
Starting it off with King tonight.
"Yeah,
Wow.
he did it, man.
Yeah, he
it.
did. Congratulations, King.
And he said, since decent running back depth is checked off the list, how do you reprioritize needs in the draft?"
Is decent the word we're using? Would you go
I
so
would
far
agree
as to
with
say
him
decent?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just making sure that
James,
we're
that-
all in consensus.
That was my first thought. Was like I wouldn't say decent. I would say running back depth checked off. Yes.
I'm okay. I like the signings. I like Alfred Blue a lot. I don't know. I can't say I know a lot about Cunningham.
He seems to be like the kind of scat back replacement.
Right.
I'll sum it up for you right now.
Okay.
Alfred Blue is TJ Yeldon, and Benny Cunningham is Corey Grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the sum up right there. Benny Cunningham will return kicks if he makes the team, and he's the scat back. He can get receiving yards out of the backfield. And Alfred Blue and TJ Yeldon are literally the exact same back. They're the same size. They run the same. They do the same role. So they basically replace both those guys with other guys.
Do you think Blue is better than Yeldon?
I think they're like exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you
So
like,
it's total push.
yeah, I think it's an absolute total push with those guys. I think that they didn't want to get caught the way they did last year, needing a running back midway through the season, and they had to make a panic move for Carlos Hyde. And so they were like, you know what?
Worked out well, by the way.
They're like, you know what? We're going to sign Cunningham. We're going to sign Blue. We're going to sign Rawls. We're going to have Fournette. And I think they'll still draft a guy. Because they do not want to be caught the same place they were last year.
I mean, joking aside, as far as decent goes, I'm not mad about the pickups at all. I mean, it puts us in a better place for the draft. You know, if we can't get a good guy or nothing else works out, I mean, we have depth at that point. You had a ton of guys talking about like the pickup of Jordan Matthews. Go for him. I mean, that's like a Carlos Hyde in my mind.
Jordan Matthews?
Isn't that the running back that's on the market?
Jordan Matthews is a receiver.
Swing and a miss, Joey. Swing and a miss. Maybe that's why you haven't signed that contract yet.
Maybe so.
All right, Joey, you want to try this one more time? What's his phantom running back you're talking about?
Hey, his first name is Jordan. That's all that really matters, right? I mean, Jordan Matthews, Jordan Howard. I mean, come on.
Okay.
We shouldn't have taken him.
time.
That would have been a stretch. It would have taken draft picks. The whole point was don't make a Hyde 2.0 decision, and we didn't. We got guys for value, guys who have produced and kind of fit our scheme. So I'm not mad. I wouldn't say decent, but I'm not mad.
I would say decent, but with like Jason, I think if there is a running back on the board that they like in the later rounds, then I still think they will take one. I don't think that checks the box completely by the moves that they've made so far.
No, it doesn't check the box, but it doesn't force us to go running back in the top 3 rounds, which is nice.
Can I put you on the spot real quick, Joey?
Sure.
As a Florida fan, what's the running back's name from Florida? That's
Jordan Scarlett.
Oh, got
there
him.
you go. All right. Another Jordan.
Oh, wow, man.
I thought Joey was going to whiff on that one.
Hey, I appreciate
I'm
the
not gonna lie.
confidence in that one, Jason. No, Scarlett would be a heck of a pickup in like the 3rd, 4th round. I would not be mad with that
To
at all.
be fair, you did say you had never heard of Taven Bryan before we drafted him, so it's hard.
No,
for
I
me to
hadn't
know.
because he was garbage and he still is garbage.
Okay.
Jordan Scarlett was a good college player in a bad scheme for most of the time he was there with no coaching or nothing. I mean, Jordan Scarlett's a good pickup, man. Wouldn't be bad with that at all.
No, I was just curious. I mean, I'm indifferent towards that. So,
And again, Michael Jordan's my GOAT of all time, so
That's right.
they all fit together.
man, if we could get Jordan Matthews, Jordan Howard, and Jordan Scarlett, we'd be set.
And Michael Jordan.
And Michael Jordan.
All right. Anything else you want to add about the running backs? I mean, I think that the guys. Here's what I'm starting to think about this front office. And I know this about them, and I try to convince myself that they're not this, but they are this. They literally grade every player like 1 to 100. And the player that's the highest graded player at their pick, they take. So if there's a running back there that's graded higher than anyone else, they're going to take him over anybody. Like, even
Right.
if they have a need, they're going to take best available.
And I'll say this. If they grade them correctly, I like that philosophy of drafting. The problem is I don't have a lot of confidence, and I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think I would say none of us have a lot of confidence in their grading system so far.
It's hard.
Not a lot.
It's hard to see how a guy will translate to the NFL because you see guys all the time that don't translate and are better pros. I heard a guy talking about today that this guy wasn't good in college, but he projects better as a pro. It's like, what?
Right.
Like you look at a guy like Alvin Kamara, dude. That dude came out a 5-star, one of the top players in the country, went to Tennessee, did nothing at Tennessee, came out and is a star in the NFL. I mean, it's hard. It's not easy. If it was easy, then every team would be good that drafts high.
No, it's not easy, but you can still do your due diligence. And I'm going to steal this from 1010. I know everybody doesn't listen to them all the time, is why I'm bringing it up. But they brought up Blackman. They're talking about the worst first-round draft picks of all time. Tampa could have taken Blackman before us. What Tampa did is they sent somebody to Oklahoma State, asked what was the most popular college bar in the area, and had somebody set up shop for 5 days straight. And you know what happened? Blackman came in every single day and drank at that bar. So they didn't take him. I mean, that was Gene, not Dave, but it fits the mold of the Jaguars office, man. I mean, that's your due diligence. If you're drafting a guy that high, you just don't go off tape, man. You got to go the extra step, and we don't do that, which bothers me.
Well, hopefully we've learned our lesson in that going forward. But
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll still draft a guy. Do you think they'll still draft a guy?
a running back?
Yeah.
If he is graded high enough, yes. If there's a quality running back on the board, and I won't say it's going to happen in obviously not the first or second round. It won't be with their first of their third round picks. Maybe their second, third round pick or a fifth round pick. They don't have a fourth round pick this year, I don't believe. So, I absolutely think that's possible for sure.
I think with the way the NFL is going, with guys like Kamara and the guys like Phillip Lindsay, I think you're dumb not to take a running back every year somewhere because you never know who's just gonna like blow up and be good in your scheme and be running backs are a dime a dozen nowadays, and you end up cutting 3 or 4 draft picks anyways.
Right.
I mean, look at the back half of our picks last year. Richardson didn't play. Tanner Lee got cut. I mean, these guys and
there's no guarantee that these running backs that they've signed now are going to make the team.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I could see Benny Cunningham getting cut.
Right.
So I mean, he's
Or Thomas Rawls could get injured, or
Right.
cut as well. I mean, he was signed in like before the Super Bowl or something. Not before the Super Bowl, but really early.
It seemed like that, yeah. Oh man,
They get him? Sorry, we're watching baseball too.
I'm guessing
Yeah.
by the body language that he
No,
They
he
didn't get him.
Got him.
Okay.
He's a good play, though.
All right. This is NL baseball for you. You never
That's
know
right.
what's going to happen. All right. This next question is from Darren Frazier, and he's at TD Frazi.
Okay.
And he says, what are y'all's thoughts on the Jags linebacker group? Jack and Telvin are obviously great, but outside of them, do you feel confident in the depth the Jags have? And if not, would you like them to address it?
I'm going to defer to Joey on this one because I have a feeling he's got a strong opinion about this position group.
I have a very strong opinion
I
about
think it's
it.
because Joey has a linebacker body.
Maybe so.
He did.
I am pretty diesel.
Kind of has a Doug Marone body now.
You used to be, could have been, should have been. I absolutely do, because one of our biggest drop-offs is when Paz left. He was not the every down guy anymore, but we need a middle linebacker. Jack's not that guy. Jack needs to be moved back out. We need a middle linebacker that can fit that spot, that is a true middle linebacker. I'm worried. If anybody gets hurt as well, we have no depth there whatsoever. So we got a lot of guys that do the same thing and nobody that does what we need. So
That actually is pretty well said.
It is.
I might have to tweet that. We have a lot of guys that do the same thing. That's really been our MO for a while.
And
Yeah,
I
go
get
ahead.
it. I get it though. You want to be fast. You want to be that explosive defense, and we have that, but you still have to have like the true hard hitting. I know where I'm supposed to be on every play. I'm directing people, just like rough and tough dude that plays middle linebacker, man. Every great team has kind of had that.
We, in the height of our anger and disappointment of this past season, when we were recording these podcasts and we were basically saying trade everybody and whatever, Telvin's name came up as a possible, trade option. Not just because he didn't have a great season last year, but because there was things being said once the season came to a close about his demeanor in the locker room and this and that. And we said it then because we were frustrated. All right, cooler heads have prevailed since then. But do you think that's a possibility still, that Telvin Smith could get traded before the season starts? He's got a contract on him, so it would cost another team some money. They'd have to inherit that.
I love Telvin Smith a lot. Like, he's one of my favorite players to watch. I like players that are athletic. Who doesn't, right?
Right.
But he just did not play up to his contract last year, and that's the bottom line. And that's where fans, I think, are coming from. I don't think he's a bad guy, but if he doesn't play up to his contract this year, he may be a candidate for someone that you ship off to get what you can get out of him because you fear you overpaid for him.
Right.
And I love Telvin, and I want him to do good, and I think he can bounce back. And I think when you're on a team, when the offense can't get a first down, you're at a disadvantage. All the defenses. So I'm looking for him to bounce back. But he is a candidate for that position this year.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. You never know what can happen on draft day or the week leading up to the draft. My only hesitation with that is just his contract. If he was getting paid a lot cheaper, then I think he would be easily movable. But he's going to cost another team some money that they're probably not going to be willing to spend right now.
Well, if the Jags eat most of that contract like they do in all of their contracts, like we give the Jags a lot of credit for front loading these contracts, which is good for us future, but for their trade value, not good for us because we end up eating a lot of the money. Like look at Bortles and any of these people. And the problem with Telvin is that we saw him making mistakes last year that are just almost unexcusable. Like missed tackles, okay, that's fine. The fact that he's undersized make his missed tackles look worse, but the fact that he's biting on play action and losing his guy in coverage because he thinks it's a run play, that's inexcusable. That's stuff you teach high schoolers.
Well, I think that goes back to pause, man. The year before that didn't happen. You didn't have the bad angles. You didn't have the biting on plays that you weren't supposed to bite on. You had him in the right spot at the right time with his speed, making the tackles. You didn't have him missing and trying to catch up and catching somebody 6, 7, 8 yards down the field and tackling. So I don't think draft is middle linebacker. I think we need to bring in some kind of veteran. And again, I haven't done the research on who's available that would fit that spot. But there's got to be somebody out there that we can get that can fill that hole because we don't need that guy to be every down and the speed guy. We got that all around him.
And that's not Jake Ryan.
I was going to ask, is it Jake Ryan?
I hope so. It'd be great if it was.
Jake Ryan with 2 ACLs, I think it is.
We got 18 mil.
He's got 1 ACL, so it's a coin flip.
I mean, we got 18 mil left over.
Not really, man.
We do.
What are we going to sign? 5, 6 draft picks?
No, after you sign your draft picks, you still got like 10 plus.
10.
Okay.
So what if someone gets
easily
hurt?
get somebody on the tail
What
end
if
of their
someone gets?
career.
What if someone gets hurt? What if Foles tears his ACL in the preseason?
Dude,
I'm
we're gonna
not trying to put
draft
that
a
out there.
quarterback. I'm saying we're going to fix other things in the draft. I don't think you can bring a rookie middle linebacker in and fix what we need. I'm saying we need a veteran in that spot.
That's why they brought in Jake Ryan. I think they brought in Ryan. I think they brought in Blue so that they could be like, we can take best available player now. And I think
They
that's
absolutely
to
did,
address
which I think
those
is the
issues.
wrong call
Because
as far as the
in
draft
reality,
goes. But
that
whatever.
middle linebacker, that pause middle linebacker, is going to play 33% of the snaps.
I still think
in
hashtag
reality.
bring pause back.
I think it's important that you get a good guy there, but we have to keep in mind that it is. I mean, they're going to be in nickel most of the time, and in
I
nickel,
get that.
you're going to have 2 linebackers and 3 DBs.
I get that.
So, how important is that?
So you think is the drop off was not anything to do with that then? Telvin's game, not anything to do with that. Jack's game, not anything to do with that.
I don't think Jack's game's dropped off. I think Telvin's...
You don't think Jack moving to middle linebacker dropped off his game?
Because like I said, man, they're playing that nickel package so much that really there's really only 2 linebackers out there most of the time. I think their game fell off mostly because the offense couldn't get a first down, and I think Telvin's play dropped off.
So it's an attitude thing then.
And we couldn't get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, we got to remember Telvin went off when Calais and Ngakoue and Malik were getting sack after sack after sack. You know, that didn't happen last year.
Same players though.
Just didn't happen.
All right.
So I don't know. Do you think they drafted a linebacker?
I don't think they do. I hope we get somebody else in free agency. I don't think they take one. I don't think that's the answer. I hope they don't.
If they don't take one 7th overall, then I don't think they take one.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though they took Leon Jacobs late last year.
Yeah, and I think that's why I think with Jake Ryan, Leon Jacobs now in his 2nd year, you do have Miles Telvin. You also have McCray, which, you know, I know he's a linebacker by definition, but he also plays on, you know, the edge some. I think they feel okay there unless there's just a stud guy that is just so good they can't pass up. But do they address that late round? No, I don't think so.
And I don't think there is a stud. There's no Ray Lewis in this draft. I mean,
there's White from
Yeah,
LSU.
the LSU linebacker is projected to be picked in front of the Jags pick. But I doubt we draft him.
No, I would be surprised.
We're good at linebacker.
That's the thing. I mean, you got to go back to what's the top 2-3 needs we have. I mean, that is a need, but it's not. You don't take them at 7, and I don't think you take them at 2nd either. I mean, it's a need, but it's not going to be filled in the draft.
This is from Brad Harvin, and he's at the rundown _BH. And he says, can Alfred Blue provide this team anything besides swapping Cajun gumbo or shrimp po' boy recipes with Fournette? Is running back via draft out of the equation now? If so, that's a shame.
Well, for our listeners who don't understand that question at all, the reference there is Alfred Blue was the running back at LSU and basically handed the baton off to Leonard Fournette when Blue went into the NFL. So they both hail from LSU.
Baton Rouge.
Yes, right. So well put, though. Well put in the question. Yeah, I think he's going to offer something. Absolutely. I think Blue, when he was healthy, was a legitimate running back in the NFL. Not a star, but a very productive running back. So like Jason's already said, it's, think TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon was arguably our best offensive player last year. So,
true.
so
through like 8 games, he was by far our best offensive player.
Yeah, definitely not, maybe not even arguably, but was. So the only other person that might be in competition with that is D.D. Westbrook. So, but anyway, just to give, if you're looking for a point of reference, I would say that's it. So yes, he will. And look, until Fournette makes it through the entire season unscathed and without injury, then we're gonna probably see Blue as our feature back in at least 2 or 3 games.
Hey, I'm pumped, man. I think it was, again, a good pickup. My boy Blue, if I get to say that all season, every touchdown, I'm happy.
Well, that's one thing I noticed. I went back and watched some of the Blues' good games. Every time he carries the ball, Blue from the whole crowd.
Nothing not fun about that.
Yeah, so expect that. I mean, looking at his stats, though, He had 150 carries in 2018 for 500 yards.
And
he averaged 3.3 yards per carry with 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
yards per carry, not good, but I mean, 500 yards and 2 touchdowns. I mean,
Yeah. His best year was 2015 when he had 700 yards rushing on 183 carries and also 2 touchdowns.
but again, we're not looking for him to be
Right,
our
right.
go-to back.
Right.
I mean, we're looking for him to be the backup, the give Fournette a break, the hey, Fournette slapped a fan in the head and is out of game, fill in, that guy.
Yeah, I like Blue. He's one of those guys that always seems to just pop up like in fantasy football when you're looking to pick up a running back. And you go, Alfred Blue, he had a decent game last year, and he's just always been that guy.
This is really what we need to hope for as Jaguar fans, is that Leonard Fournette kills it this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to be really focused on, is that he's healthy and that he does what we all believe he's capable of doing. And if that happens, then all these other running backs that we're talking about aren't going to matter as much. That's really what it's about. It's about Fournette. It's not about these other guys. If he can produce, then awesome. Whatever these other guys, everything else these other guys do then is icing on the cake.
Well, let's throw this out there then. Between the three of us, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the chances of Fournette coming in next year, head straight, in shape, and playing 90% of the games?
So let's say 14 of the games.
Sure.
I don't know if that's 90%, but
Whatever.
I think he'll come in with his head straight. I don't think he'll play in that many games. So I'm gonna say, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to rate that 1 to 10. I think he'll be better as far as his head, goes, and like not gonna punch players and not gonna miss meetings or pictures or whatever it is. But it's just not running back's not a position where you get 14 games out of anymore. It used to be, but
When you're splitting carries, you absolutely should.
he's not a split carry guy though.
He's going to be though.
No, he won't. He'll be a split carry guy until he gets hurt, or he will be a feature back until he gets hurt.
I think, and I don't know again if this is answering your question directly, but I believe that this is going to be Fournette's best year. Not because all of a sudden I think he's going to come in and he's going to have the total different attitude change, he's a different person. Maybe I'm hoping he's matured a little bit, but I think it's because of Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles is going to make him a better player, and it's going to make the defenses a little more honest with him. So because of all that, I think he's going to have his best year. What that looks like remains to be seen. I can't say exactly, but I think it will be his best year.
Can I piggyback off of that for a second?
Sure.
I was looking at the amount of times that Kirk Cousins threw the ball in John DeFilippo's passing scheme, and almost every single game he threw the ball over 40 times. And there was a bunch of games where he threw over 50 times. Like, Filippo is a passing guy. Now, is he going to come in and is Marone and Coughlin going to say, you got to change what you've done in the past? Maybe. But if they don't, DeFilippo is going to throw the ball 50 times.
They brought him in for a reason. But a lot of those passes are to his running back.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, he might not be getting the same amount of running back carries, but I bet his total touches are going to be very similar. I mean, I know you're going with that. But he's proven he can catch the ball in the backfield. He didn't do that at LSU, but he's capable of that. He might prefer that. I don't know. But if he comes in like his rookie year and gives us a 7 out of 10, I'm ecstatic. I think that's best case scenario, though. I don't see him being better than that, which is not, doesn't make me too happy.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not saying you might not be able to, on paper, define this upcoming season as his best yet, but I think because of the offense and how it's run, I think it's going to be his best.
It better be.
Yeah, it needs to be.
I mean,
It needs to
otherwise
be.
we're in trouble.
He may be able to stay healthier due to a decreased workload,
Sure.
which could
Or a
benefit.
different kind of workload.
Right. Which could benefit him.
Hopefully.
All right. You ready to move on to the next Twitter question?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This question is from Foles Better Be Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I agree with you. Foles
Absolutely.
Better Be Amazing. And he's at sub_SWO. And he says, what is it about college football players from the state of Florida? Why do we always draft them? Yeah, some of them are great. Fred Taylor, Jalen Ramsey. But then there's players like Dante Fowler, Blake Bortles, Derek Harvey, and Taven Bryant.
Dude, I'll jump all over that. because,
Reggie
I mean,
Nelson, Jonathan Cyprien.
Yeah, dude. I'll jump all over
AJ
that.
Boye is from Florida.
And we didn't draft him.
We signed him, yeah.
100%, man. And again, it's why I'm against us taking a Florida player. I mean, I'm a Gator homer, but man, it's laziness.
Greg Jones.
Was the beast.
Did we say Reggie Nelson?
You said Reggie Nelson.
Okay.
I like Great Jones.
But Fred Taylor, though.
Greg Jones is amazing.
Fred Taylor, that was, what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago? I mean, come on. Yes, that was a great pick, but he was like a beyond stud athlete. I mean, that was a no-brainer. There was no doubt that, I mean, that's not the call. We take Florida players because it's lazy.
Alan Hearns.
I disagree.
Didn't draft him, but still. John, I'm just throwing names out.
I disagree.
Completely ignoring you.
I think that Florida players are more athletic. And it's not just that we draft out of Florida. Colleges go to Florida to get recruits. When you train in this hot, humid weather, when you go to anywhere else, you perform better. And that's just the way that it is. It's not just Florida. Guys from Texas, guys from California are also good. So I think that there are good players from Florida. Like a Grizzly Bear Juwan Taylor is going to be better in the NFL than some fundamental small dude from Iowa playing live.
Juwan Taylor is not a Grizzly Bear.
Are you alluding to Hawkinson?
I'm not alluding to
Is that a Hawkinson reference?
I'm talking about like
I
offense.
get your point.
Look, Iowa puts out tight ends. Can anyone explain that? No.
I would take a Miami tight end over Iowa tight end any second
Look
of the
at
day.
the Iowa tight ends that are out there, though.
Well, I get that, but my point is that Taylor is the prime example of it. Is that he's not a Grizzly Bear. He's a big dude.
But
he's
look
soft.
at these guys in the NFL that are Florida State, and Miami linemen that were pedestrian in college and get the NFL and dominate.
Rashad Green.
I get that. And most people...
There's player after player.
There's a ton of
Trent Brown was the highest paid offensive lineman in the offseason, and he was pedestrian at
Trent
Florida.
Brown's the number one case for your argument. I agree.
Dude, I can go on.
The whole thing of, hey, they didn't get good coaching in college, and then they come to the pros and get good coaching, and they show out, and now they got big contracts. But there's tons of people who didn't get good coaching in college and still suck.
Yeah.
Taven Bryan, prime example. Let's see what he turns into. I mean, all those other guys.
You can't say he sucks after 1 year.
I want a guy who proved himself in college. Sorry.
So you'd rather have a guy that proves himself in the Pac-12 than a guy who was okay in the SEC?
No, I'd rather have a guy from Alabama who proved himself than a guy from Florida who didn't and is just a little bit bigger and longer arms.
Okay.
And we're going to take him in the draft because he got longer arms. It's ridiculous.
I'm just trying to think of other players.
All right. So
there was a safety or corner from FSU that came, and he wasn't any good. Mike something. I can't remember his name. He lasted like 2 or 3 years, and
what? The FSU is like DBU. Miami was DBU before them. Like from the skill position, I mean,
let me rephrase this. I don't want us to draft any Florida Gator college players unless they're just
what
like
about Jordan Scarlett?
You mean first?
I'm thinking first, second round.
Okay.
Scarlett, I would love for us to take, but that's a value pick. I don't want us to reach for a Florida player, which we will be reaching on the offensive line for the Florida dude.
He just projects as a pro. That's the thing.
Dude, they all project as pros.
No, if they did, they would be mocked like where Juwan Taylor is.
Oh my God.
There's a reason why Jonah Williams isn't mocked as a pro.
Jonah Williams, look how he blocked against Clemson.
I'm with you. I love Jonah Williams, but these guys are professionals, and they see
and they get it wrong all the time.
They see Juwan Taylor as a guy that offensive line coaches in the NFL can make into the next Trent Brown.
Well, good luck for that. I'd rather take a guy who has proven himself. You don't have to make into something.
I am with Joey on that. I have to say, I want to see production in college.
Luke Jokel was a guy that showed what he was in college, and he went to the NFL, and he was terrible. So I mean, it can go both ways. I mean, we know firsthand. Jokel looked amazing when he was blocking for Manziel.
That's because it was Manziel.
I'm with you, but I'm just telling you. Like,
okay, well,
Jokel was the same type of guy that was fundamental, and he looked like a guy that was going to be a solid left tackle for the next 10 years, and he couldn't stick around for 5.
I get that it's impossible. It's tough, or everybody be doing it. But look at this. Juwan Taylor, 6'5", 312. All right. Williams is 6'4", 302. So we're talking about 2 inches and 4 pounds.
If he's got Oompa Loompa arms.
Dude, it's 2 inches on his arms, like 35 versus 33 and a quarter.
Small arms.
No, it's 33 and a quarter versus 35. Look it up.
That's a
guarantee
lot.
you.
That's a lot
Dude,
when you're blocking.
He's blocking the
2
same.
inches?
Dude, watch him in that Clemson game. All those guys are going pro. He blocked the living crap out of them.
That's why they lost.
It wasn't his fault. I mean, my point being is, dude, I'd rather. I mean, people get too caught up, I think, in the measurements and not what the player did. I mean, Taylor might come out to be an absolute stud. Good for him. Love the Gators, but I just don't want him on the Jaguars. I don't want him at number 7, man. I'd be super mad at that pick.
Anything to add, or do you want to move on?
No, I think we can move on. I think Joey said it all.
Joey's made his point, as terrible as it was.
It's going to be so fun. It is going to be so fun to watch the Jaguars pick at 7 because I feel like Joey's just going to be irate.
Dude, I'm going to lose my mind either way. There's no way. I mean,
it's going to be awesome.
Joey, what would you be happy with if the Jags picked?
Jonah Williams. I'd be happy with
Hawkinson.
the Hawkinator. I'd be happy with Haskins if he drops. All 3 of those I will be perfectly happy with.
Okay. All right.
You hear that, Caldwell? You got 3 picks for
Dave,
Joey.
I'm going to use the bat phone, man. I'm going to show up. Just knock on the door.
All right. Well, there's been like a question that's been circulating like the local media recently that I have no clue why, but I want to get y'all's take on it. Who is your favorite Jaguar player we've ever drafted? So they kind of gave a list of like 4 people, and I think this list of 4 people would be good to tell you. Jalen Ramsey, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew, Tony Baselli.
It's Fred Taylor without a question for me.
In order, Jalen, Baselli, Freddie T, MJD.
Ooh.
Yeah, just like that.
I still go back and watch Freddie T highlight.
Gosh,
all the
put
time.
my boy 4th, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he was a next level. I mean, don't get me wrong, Baselli was too, but it's offensive line, man. How exciting is that to watch? I mean,
it's her first ever one, and he's a Hall of Famer.
no, I get all that, but I'm saying it's like as far as like who I like to watch.
Be.
He will be.
He will be.
I love Jalen, but him and Maurice Jones-Drew for me are neck and neck. It's hard for me to put one above the other. I loved Maurice Jones-Drew.
I mean, they're all great. They're all amazing. It's you're splitting hairs between all of them, but
that's kind of a generational thing as well. I mean,
no, because I watched Fred Taylor. I watched Fred Taylor in Florida.
But I mean, like I watched Fred Taylor.
I didn't really
at
watch
the same age that you
Baselli.
watched Jones-Drew.
I got to be fair. I didn't really watch Baselli because I was kind of young and wasn't watching offensive line. Right, I was watching football, but I wasn't watching offensive line play from the left tackle. But Maurice Jones-Drew, and I liked Fred Taylor. He went to Florida. But Maurice Jones-Drew, man, something about a guy that'll come out and wear number 32 because 32 teams passed on him. The fact that he was like untackleable because he was so strong.
Backstory.
But Jalen Ramsey, though, man, gosh, how can you not put that guy number 1? I mean, he might be the greatest Jaguar to ever play.
Because he's played 2 years.
Yeah, but he's been a Pro Bowler every year.
I get that. 10 years from now, I could be saying the same thing.
Jalen Ramsey is the only one in that list that will be a Hall of Famer.
you don't think Baselli will?
Baselli is going to make the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt.
Nah.
Freddie T should with his numbers. He won't. He won't because he played in Jacksonville.
Both Freddie T and Baselli, I think they're both deserving, but they both have the same thing that's knocking against them is they were just injured their entire career.
And they played in
Freddie T,
Jacksonville.
he was not, though. He was injured to start it.
No.
And after that,
his nickname's Fragile Fred.
He was Fragile Fred, and he popped a hamstring off the bone. After that, he was fine.
No.
That's a falsity.
No, he was injured a lot.
Dude,
he was injured a lot. I mean, he injured like every body part on his body.
Jason, you're getting personal with Joey now talking about
I
Freddie
love Fred
T.
Taylor.
We're gonna have to take about
it. His name was Fragile Fred.
It was, and
He
it
didn't
should
get that nickname because people were just making
It
names
should
up.
not have been. And again, you were 12 at the time. So let's take a bathroom break and let's look up the actual stats of how many games he missed throughout his career. Because I don't know that off the top of my head.
Didn't Brandon Linder play at Miami?
Yeah.
That's another one.
I like Linder.
I knew there was more.
You've been sitting there thinking about that the whole time. I mean,
I know
that's
there's
impressive
more.
you came up with it, though.
Yeah.
Because who really tracks Miami players outside of like that end?
It's like there's way more.
All right, I'm looking it up right now.
Well, while you do that, I'm going to read
Go
the next
time.
Twitter question.
Yeah, let's.
And I'm not having anything to do with this one.
This next question is from Zach Deadlift, and his at Beefy Quotes, and this is concerning the new pass interference rule change. He says, do you guys feel that the rule change does a disservice to the teams like the Jags? Considering you still can't challenge a PI unless you are challenging for a lack of a call being made, we tend to get plenty of PI calls as it is. I'm worried officials will now call PI more often.
No, I don't think it will. I think, remember last year in the offseason, they made the, I don't know what it was. There was a new rule implemented in preseason. It was something about how they hit and all that. And it was flagged like nonstop during preseason games. And then once the regular season started, it just kind of went back to business as usual. I kind of have a feeling this is the same thing is going to happen here, unless it's an egregious non-call. Will it? I understand why the question was asked, because we have Jalen, who's very physical. Boye is very physical. So I get where he's coming from. And maybe it will if this really, coaches do really, throw a challenge for PIs. But I don't know. I guess because it's the off season, it's a big story, but I'm hoping, and maybe this is just me being hopeful, but that once the season actually starts, this is going to be a little more of a non-story than we're making it right now. So I'm going to say no. I don't think it is necessarily going to, because I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as everyone's making it out to be.
Well, Richard Sherman, who's obviously outspoken and talks to get himself paid and seen and all that, did have an interesting quote. And he says that now they can control the outcome as they see fit. And he says every defendable pass looks like pass interference in slow motion. There's kind of some truth to that. Like, I think if you're a league that's predicated on points scored and offensive production, it's going to behoove you to have more defensive pass interference calls to move the ball up the field. So whenever I see a defensive back get away with a small pass interference, I get a little happy. I'm like, I'm glad they didn't call that. And whenever there's a call that's like shouldn't have been called, I get really angry because I feel for the defensive players. What are they supposed to do in this league?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. They are playing football. It's professional football. So there's going to be contact. I mean, you can't just let these guys that run like 4.3 40s go by without touching them. There's going to be open every single play. So that's what I'm saying. Like, at some point, they're going to have to let the players play a little bit. So I'm hoping this is more of a non-story than we're making it out to be here in, early April. Joe, are you protesting because of the Fred Taylor debate?
I was looking at Fred Taylor stats. Let me know when I can talk about that. I mean, the pass interference call, again, I mean, I've said the same thing for the past 3 podcasts. I mean, it's not the answer. Jason and James, you're absolutely correct. It can change the face of the game and people can dictate what they want. And it's obviously they want an offensive league. I mean, you look at a big old receiver like Julio Jones going up like a little DB. I mean, it's not even going to be fair if they're doing stuff like that. So, no, I'm against it. I mean, I think there should be a little banging. There should be a little hand checking. There should be all that goes into it because that's football, man. I mean, I think it's a crap rule until they have a set, employed, salaried NFL referee squad and not part-timers. It doesn't answer it. It doesn't fix it.
Man, look at those baseball contracts. God, baseball players are getting paid now, man.
Yeah, like after their
holy moly,
and it's all guaranteed, all of it.
Aaron Nola, 145 million.
Never even
like
heard
Nick
of the
Foles
guy.
signs for 88 million, and it's 50 guaranteed in baseball. Whatever the number is, it's guaranteed.
Okay, so now that I can jump back in on the Fred Taylor discussion,
Have you calmed down? You all right?
you can tell by the tone of my. I mean, I'm an octave or 3 octaves lower at this point, at least.
An octave?
Octave, right? Voice high.
Sounds
low?
like an
I
X-Men.
think it's pronounced octave.
Octave.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think something to do with the Marvel. Octave. He's
I'm
a
singing
bad
a
guy.
hot octave today.
Exactly. It's a good sandwich. Jason was completely wrong. I mean, bottom line. I mean, I think earlier in the podcast you did state a go-to back can play how many games? Should play how many games?
What did I say? 12.
I think you said 12.
Yeah.
So let's go with 12.
I'm at another octave.
So 98 rookie season, 15 games. 99, 10 games.
The year that he got robbed out of Rookie of the Year from
Exactly.
from who? Who won Rookie that year? Because I was 12 and I don't remember. But you were a grown man, so you should remember. Who won Rookie of the Year that
Got
year?
me on that one.
Randy Moss.
Randy
Come
Moss.
on now.
Yeah,
Let's
it's tough to
go.
argue. It's tough to
Let's
argue.
go.
That's
All right.
the Randy Moss.
All right.
Let's say it that way.
I'm glad that moment happened.
So 99, 10 games.
Okay. That's not
2000, 13 games. 2001, when you were old enough to actually watch him play, was, he got hurt. That's when he ripped his hamstring off the bone.
Okay.
I mean, he had
All right.
2 games. After that, it was
2.
I'll go fast at this point.
So he's
After that-
averaging like
Thank
7
God.
at this point.
Okay, after that, it was 16, 16, 14, 11, 15, 15, 13, and then we traded him to New England. So Fragile Fred was a moniker that was because of 1 year, man. And it stuck with him, and it shouldn't have.
I mean,
Because he
10
was rock
games-
solid.
10 games isn't really a lot either, though. Was that the year before he tore his hamstring?
Yes, it was. He was
So
probably
he had
hurt
2
that
years
year.
in a row. He had 2 seasons where he played 12 games.
12 and 13, and then, dude, I mean, all those are basically well over
Are
10.
you saying in a span of 2 seasons he played a total of 12 games?
Yeah, that's where he got the name.
No, it was 1 season with 2 games. That's when he got hurt. That was the beginning of that season.
All right.
Other than that, he never played less than 9 games.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Joey wins.
Fair enough.
You win, Joey.
Thank you.
Even
I'll
though
stop
you
talking
didn't
about it.
know who beat him for Rookie of the Year, so who really
Well, if I
is?
really thought about it,
Who really is the winner
breaking
here?
him up there. He's the winner in life. Jason. All right, so we're going to jump to Facebook real quick. Because
It's only
again,
because I have 2 hot wings in my fridge, and you're jealous.
True.
Whoa, you can't have 2 packs of.
that you're not going to have wings after a minute. So we're going to jump to Facebook real quick because, again, we like all
Joey's
of our
taking one of those
questions.
boxes to go.
Not just
Here's my
Twitter.
Freddie T box.
Really hard to do a shout out right now, but Charlotte Bernharder, we really appreciate the question. Longtime fan, one of our best fans. She asks, and it's a great question: do we address offensive line? What are we going to do?
Well, a lot of this just depends on health. You know, how much are they willing to gamble again that this is going to be a healthy unit? It certainly was not last year. Not to mention Cam Robinson. How well is he going to come back? How strong is he going to be when he comes back this coming up year? Is Will Richardson, do they trust him enough to be a right guard? He didn't play a single game last year. He was their 4th round pick. So, you know, we've already mentioned Jawan Taylor, 7th overall. Joey clearly doesn't want that to happen. Do they go elsewhere? Do they wait later in the draft? I believe they will absolutely draft I absolutely believe they will. Sorry, the Braves just tied the game in the bottom of the 8th. They went ahead. That's amazing. I do believe that they will draft an offensive lineman. Listen, I told you.
Hey, professional, you did call it. You said if the Braves are on, I'm going to be completely distracted. Sorry, Charlotte. Blame James.
Yeah. No, I believe they will address it in the draft at some point. Absolutely.
It's absolutely a great question because Cam Robinson, we don't know what we're going to get out of him. I mean, he played really good for a rookie, and that's all we got. I mean, we don't know if that's going to be consistent. We don't know if he is going to step up. I mean, we just don't know there. And again, is everybody going to be healthy? Doubtful. Everybody gets hurt. I mean, it happens. So I would not be mad if we draft offensive line with the 7th pick. I will just be mad if it's Taylor.
I get where people are coming from with you could draft Chris Lindstrom or who's the Reisner guy everyone likes. I get that. I don't know if either one of them will be there in our 2nd round pick. I have a feeling that they'll both be gone. So if you want a quality lineman, I think you're going to have to take either Taylor or Williams at 7. I like Williams more because he looks like a guy that can flex different positions and a guy that will be good. But I literally had that same feeling about Luke Jokel. And that's where I get scared because is Jonah Williams a Luke Jokel 2.0? I hope not, but
Did Jokel play for Alabama?
Jokel played for Texas A&M.
Exactly.
But they're the same type of guy. Like, they're fundamentally sound. Their arms are a little short. They're the same type of guy. Whereas Jawan Taylor kind of projects as like these guys that are good, like Trent Brown, Eugene Monroe, these guys that show you over and over again that they're big. You can't teach big. And
We're talking about a 13-pound difference, and we're talking about mechanics. We're talking about strength. They rep the same thing. The however many pounds they have to bench press.
yeah, but
It was
Jawan
23
Taylor
versus
like
24.
visibly can carry more weight. Like he's
So you're saying he
bigger
would be able to
guy.
beef up in the pros and be that guy?
He was like Jawan Taylor came into Florida at like 370.
Really?
Yeah, and he cut
Wow.
down because the coaches wanted him to. Like the dude can carry weight.
So
if
he's got a
wants to.
frame where
Yes.
he could not get
Yes,
pushed around. Is what you're saying.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's a good argument. That's something
Yeah.
I haven't heard.
Yeah.
Keep in mind now, they did re-sign Wells this week, and I believe Shatley as well.
Yeah, they're depth.
So
though.
they're adding
Yeah.
depth. I think that the front office feels like they have their starting lineup. It's just a matter of if
who's
they're
right
healthy or not.
tackle?
Richardson.
No.
So you're saying they go edge rusher at number 7, best available.
There's no way you can't start a guy that didn't play at all last year.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. If they don't pick an offensive lineman at 7, then I absolutely believe that that's what they think, at least, that Richardson is their starting right tackle. So
I truly believe they go offensive line at 7.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's Taylor.
I still think it's defense.
I think it's Taylor.
He is in town today.
But they did bring in 30 guys, to be fair.
So I mean, that's not really saying much.
Right, but I still think it is Taylor though, because I mean it's a glaring need. It really is.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Again, great question, and obviously everybody's on both sides of the coin, and I'm sure upper management is as well. I mean,
I will say this: when you sign Nick Foles for 4 years, $88 million, you want to make sure he's protected. So
again, and you want your stud running back, first round draft pick from a couple years ago to, I mean, you got to do it. You got to have an offensive line.
Yep.
Let me throw this at you. I was looking today. If you traded, what would you have to trade the Vikings to get Kyle Rudolph?
Oof.
Like could you get him for a third?
Maybe,
because you're taking on like $5 million from him off the Vikings books, which isn't a lot. But could you get him? I mean, there's familiarity there with Filippo.
That would be amazing.
I mean, that could be a guy you see a draft day trade for.
But they need him.
Would you give a second round pick for Kyle Rudolph?
I would.
What, second round?
Yeah. He's a little older. He came in the league in like 2011, so he's been in the league for a while. And here's the kicker. This is the last year of his contract.
No, I wouldn't, because I think they could draft a tight end in
As
the second
good
round.
as him?
Yeah. I mean, how good is Kyle Rudolph? I don't know his numbers or
He's
anything. in
pretty
front of me.
good. I mean,
what's with you and the Vikings, man? Last week, the same thing. You've been watching a lot of
that's
Vikings
where
games?
Filippo came from.
Oh, okay.
And the Vikings have had a pretty legit offense.
So there's
for the
a
past,
correlation
like,
there.
3 or 4 years.
No. That's where Filippo came from.
Okay.
And to be fair, I looked at every tight end in the league and looked at who was the most feasible and realistic for us to trade for. And when I saw,
You really did that, didn't you?
I did. I did.
That's awesome.
And when I
That is
saw,
awesome.
when I saw Kyle Rudolph, I was like, okay. And here's the thing. And here's what makes him the most tradable is that he's in the last year of his deal.
Yeah.
So the Jags, that's the thing. You'd have to give up your second round pick for a guy that's in the last year of his contract.
I don't think they would need to give up that high. I think you could get him for
Maybe a third?
the second third.
That's
that
what I'm
they have.
thinking. I'm thinking the first third. I know we're splitting hairs, but
Yeah.
I think you could get him for the first third pick that we have. Our true third.
In that research, did you like quantify like what it would take to get Gronk out of retirement? Has he heard about the Jags?
Maybe
Beach
a new
Bars?
helmet that has like balloons so you don't get a concussion.
Fair enough, but I mean, like, really,
What,
Could we do that?
Speaking of that, what do you think the odds of him staying retired are?
it's like 50-50.
Dude's young, man.
I think Tommy B's going to call him up.
It's all about his back, man. It's not
He's
about
like
the concussions.
29.
I mean, he had back injuries coming out of college. I mean, it's about his back. That's
His
what's holding
forearm
back.
was like his most serious injury.
Yeah.
and all the rumors are he never spent a cent of his game checks.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
He
It's
gets
like-
a lot of credit for being frugal.
No, he is frugal.
Yeah.
Like all that, nothing, which is amazing. I think that's great. But yeah, I absolutely think he's coming out of retirement at some point. I mean, they're going to tell him, hey, you don't have to be here for preseason. You don't have to be here for this. You know, practices, don't even show up, man. Just show up for games in the postseason.
All right. Well, this next question is from one of our many UK fans that we have.
Most downloaded Jaguars podcast in the UK.
Can you believe that?
I mean, it's a pretty prestigious award.
I'll be
honestly.
honest, when we started this whole thing, that was the dream. So I'm happy.
Next up, soccer.
Another Manchester United podcast. This question is from Gaz Hughes, and he's at Tronulus.
I love it.
And he says, and I have to paraphrase this because this is such a British question that I had to read it like a bunch of times to get it, but I'm going to try to paraphrase it for you. Apparently, Houston Jacks is a 14 o'clock kickoff
Military time.
Okay.
for them.
That's 2 o'clock for them.
So that'd be
Okay.
like 9-ish here.
Okay, yeah. So for them, right? And, all right. And he says, do you like the breakfast game each year, or is it a ball ache to you? I don't know what that means.
Ball ache or bollocks?
It's 2 words, ball ache.
Okay.
Hey, ball ache's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I love it, man. Like getting up and first thing you've got a football game on. I like it a lot. It's kind of like the British Open, man. You get to watch golf. I'm sorry, the Open. Don't want to make Brits mad. But you get to wake up and there's sports on immediately. I'm all for it.
Normally, I don't like it. But last year, our church did a big breakfast and showed the game on the big screen. And it was awesome.
It was fantastic. Part of the reason that made it even better.
We'll be doing it again next year. And yes, I'm all for it now. I'm looking forward to the next one.
I like when other teams play early. I don't like when the Jags play early. Because like if I'm up, I'll watch it. But I don't feel obligated to get up and watch it if I don't like the matchup. But if the Jags are playing, I have to watch it.
Right.
And so that's how I feel.
I haven't slept past like 7:30 in 15 years. So yeah, I don't have to worry about that.
I mean, I slept till 7 o'clock today, and it might as well have been noon.
Yeah, it's great.
It was amazing.
Wow.
I mean,
I'm not even going to tell you what time I got.
I got to be up in less than 6 hours from right now. So that just tells you something.
Me too.
Yeah. I'll take it a step further. I don't like when the Jags play on Thursday night because then Sunday rolls around, which is your normal sit on the couch, watch the game, and it's like, well, they already played. Win or lose, I don't like it. I mean, obviously, I'm happy that they won, but I like the Sunday 1 o'clock game. Give me that week in and week out, and I'm happy.
I mean, Jags are not. Honestly, I'm not a fan of Thursday night games. Period.
I'm not either. I wish they'd do away with them. Let that be college.
Yeah,
I like them when the Jags aren't playing. That's back to I like watching football. I just don't want the Jags playing in that slot.
I agree. I agree with that if they're going to keep it, but it just weakens the product. Hardly are they ever good games.
And it completely jacks up my fantasy squad, man. Like I forget to do it half the time. Like, dang it, football's on right now.
Y'all aren't thinking about the degenerate gamblers, though, man. Us poor degenerate gamblers, we need something to bet on for at least 4 times a week. Okay, so can you cut us?
There's got to be something else.
Which, all right, that's a whole nother like 30 minutes. The AFL and the app. Did you guys hear about that? What dropped with that?
The AAF?
The AFL.
Yeah.
The whole reason dude bought it was because of the gambling app. It's like real-time gambling, and that's supposed to go like, all right.
Genius.
Yeah, fair enough. Genius.
All right. This last question is from Heather, and she says, and she's at, hey, it's Heather17.
Hey.
She says, should I show solidarity with Jason and refuse to buy a Jalen Ramsey jersey until he gets re-signed?
Well, technically, Jason's claim was that he wasn't going to buy season tickets.
Yes.
So, but I understand, jersey tickets.
Well, I mean, to some, that would be the equivalent of that. I mean, Jason already has a Ramsey jersey.
Yeah, I have multiple.
He couldn't not do that. So.
I have 2, and they're all white. But I have the old white and the new white.
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
Because white looks absolutely the best.
But for her, I could see that being like a dividing line. So, fair enough.
But here's the thing, though. The players get some of the cut from the jerseys. So you can buy a jersey and still...
I'd almost be, if I was her, more hesitant than you, because a jersey, if he's gone, like that jersey's useless. I mean, you can wear it, but it's just never quite the same.
Yeah, ask me about my Matt Jones jersey hanging in the little.
Okay, first
closet.
of all, don't ever disgrace Matt Jones' name like that ever again. The best converted wide receiver we've ever had.
Best slash
from Arkansas.
But I mean, season tickets are a lot more than a jersey, and I have multiple Jalen jerseys, and I will wear them till the day I die.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any doubt that he's going to get extended? I mean, re-signed.
I think that's that $18 million that's hanging out. I think that's going to him.
Dude, he's getting it. I've been probably the biggest opponent to him, not for his play, but for his attitude. He's getting the money. If they don't pay him, then nobody should buy season tickets or jerseys because Jags don't.
If they don't pay him, they need to quit and give us their jobs.
Exactly. So, I mean, yes, absolutely. If they don't re-sign him, don't buy a jersey.
I did miss this question, but it kind of goes with the same tone. It's from Jason at RatHCP. It says, are you buying a draft day hat?
No.
I have to say I like them.
You like them? Of course you do. Of course.
Are you looking at the orange one, like the fake one, or the actual one?
The actual one, which if you haven't seen it, it's on our Instagram.
Dude,
you can go on there and check it out.
I have to say I'm a fan.
Then are you going to get...
I might even wear it backwards, James.
You can't sit here and genuinely tell me that you're a fan of those hats.
I like those hats. For draft day, the draft day hats are horrible most of the time.
They're always bad. Who is designing these
That's
draft
what I'm saying.
hats?
They're usually like so bad, like Walmart won't carry them.
I'd say this is maybe the worst.
This is the worst.
No, at least they're trying to do something.
This is the worst.
Nah, it's like kind of like a edgy design. It's like Sunshine State.
It reminds me of like the Japanese flag.
Yeah, which is cool. The Rising Sun's awesome.
That's a hard pass for me.
Nah, I would get it at a discount. Chinese knockoff.
I want one of the Jaguar sun hats that they wear, during training camp. I need protection from the sun at the games. 'Cause I always get burned.
My dad
Fair
has
skin.
My dad has an old school logo hat, and he wears it. The truth is, he's too cheap to buy another one. But when people ask him, he's like, "Yeah, I buy this because this is when they were winning." I have so much respect for him for passing that off as his excuse.
That's awesome.
But in reality, he's way too cheap to buy a new hat.
Same reason I got my members only jacket on.
Have you seen that insurance commercial where it's like becoming your dad and the guy's like, it's a free hat. Why wouldn't I wear it? Like that. My dad has been rocking like the last 2 weeks this NASCAR hat. And I'm pretty sure he's never watched a single lap of NASCAR in his life. It's like, where'd you get that? He's like, I don't know. It's free.
Is it an actual driver or just like NASCAR in
It's like,
general?
it's got a number on the side of it. So it's a representing a car.
Nice, and he has no idea.
No, and it doesn't even fit him. It just props on the top of his head.
Jimmy's the man.
But you do, in life, you get to a point where, you start realizing like, oh, I'm getting old. Like it's happening.
Yeah.
And wearing certain clothes because of how it affects your sun intake is one of those things.
It's very true.
And so I need one of those like 360 degree brim hats.
They're called bucket hats.
Bucket hats?
Yeah.
I need a bucket hat.
Yeah.
My wife would disown me, but I don't care because
bucket hats are actually kind of in right now, to be honest with you.
I get sunburnt walking from my car to the front door of the grocery store if it's sunny out.
They're in, honestly.
Are they?
Yeah, yeah.
My dad's got like 10 you can borrow. They're all camouflage, but
That's all right. I don't want people to see me. Is that it? All right, that's a wrap for episode 62.
Oh, hold on. We're seriously ending the podcast on bucket hats?
What else are we going to end it on?
All right, fair enough.
How about this? Fred Taylor was fragile. That's episode 62. Thanks everyone for listening. And as always, go Jags.